One thing no one told me before having kids was how crucial finding the perfect nursing bra would be. Since I've breastfed all of my kids over the last 6 years, I've tried them all, and none are as comfortable as the bras from Bodily. Bodily has a full line of bras, like my favorite, the Effortless bra, which are designed with an IBCLC to thoughtfully support you wherever you are in your journey from pregnancy through postpartum. Joining me today are high school sweethearts, Nashville natives, entrepreneurs, creatives, and parents of 2, Hunter and Cameron Premo. Hunter is a fashion and lifestyle influencer, and her husband Cameron is a professional photographer and videographer, which makes you guys an amazing team. Together, they recently launched Premonition Goods, an online mercantile featuring high-quality handmade goods. Hunter and Cam are parents of 2 adorable boys, 3-year-old Remy, I cannot believe he's 3, and 5-month-old Radner. Oh my gosh, it goes by so fast. How are you guys doing?
My mom right now. We're
oh my
doing
gosh.
great.
Yeah.
Good. It's so nice to have the in-laws or the parents there to help. It's like I could not survive without that. Do you guys use your parents a lot?
Yeah. We're like 10 minutes between both of them. So whenever we tap them in, and they love it too.
It's awesome. Yeah, Remy spends 3 days a week with my parents, and then he starts school this fall. So
oh my God.
Transition, so
that is such a big deal. Wow. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. I just absolutely love your page, and we've been kind of connected on Instagram for a while now because you are one of those few influencers that I feel like is just so refreshing and honest about parenting, and in particular sleep was how we kind of got connected at first, because you guys co-sleep, and that is something that you don't really hear a lot about in the influencer world, where it's a lot of people talking about different sleep training methods and things like that. So yeah, I just love that you're so open and honest about your breastfeeding and co-sleeping journey. Was that something that you guys had planned on before having kids, that arrangement?
No. Well, it's funny because before we recorded this, I was like, it's hilarious that we kind of became this, like, people in all my Q&As, it's all about co-sleeping. And I was like, wait a minute, like, this is not what we ever set out to do.
Right, or to be known for.
Yeah, we actually didn't start co-sleeping with Remy until he was 14 months.
Yeah.
We were on a beach vacation, and he had like a really high fever one night. And I was like, I just feel more comfortable with him being with us. Yeah. And then that whole week, we all slept so great. And then ever since then, he's been in bed with us, and we absolutely love it. Like,
yeah. I kind of had this feeling that we might end up that way because Hunter slept with her parents till she was like 12 or something like that. I was like, are we going to be those parents?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
I know. It's been so sweet. And then now with Radner, so Remy he just turned 3. He still sleeps between us. And I was so nervous for how that would go with bringing a new baby home. But it's been great. Like, we had one night where Radner's crying woke Remy up at the very beginning, and I was like, oh no, how are we going to get through this? And then we kind of learned to take Radner out of the room for diaper changes and things. And
Smart.
Then after about 6 weeks, that kind of ended. And
I think Remy's just now kind of accustomed to if he does cry. Like, I think he'd drive a truck through our house and Remy wouldn't wake up. Like,
well, and a baby's cry is pretty loud. Like, my kids are in their own room, and the baby still wakes them up sometimes, right? So it's, even if they're in their own room, you can't avoid that at all times.
And Radner's in a little co-sleeper bassinet next to Cameron's side, which I think that was, did you talk about that? Like, not putting
I was just going to ask. Yeah. So that's technically the safest way to do it. So if you are bed sharing with your older child and you're bringing in a newborn, usually that's what I recommend, because the newborn, some newborns are really, really kind of like clingy and need touch and need to be held and sleep on parents' chest for like weeks. But others are really good at a bassinet for the first few weeks. So usually that's the safest. And then that way the toddler's like normal routine isn't being too disrupted, because the new baby being there is kind of enough for them to handle. So.
Yeah, there were a few nights I went to the couch with Radner just when I felt like he really needed me. And then ever since then, and I will note that he's a really good sleeper. Yeah. Knock on all the wood. And
I'm knocking on wood for you.
Yeah, but it's been really good so far. And I feel like everyone's happy in their own spaces.
Yeah.
That's great. And so why do you feel like people connect with you so much about that, or like associate you with that so much that they're asking you about it in all your Q&As? Because you're not a parenting page officially, right? Like, you talk about your daily life and you talk about your kids and your family life, but you're not a parenting page. So why do you think people are asking you so much about that?
I think it's just not the norm. And so people are so curious about it. But what is fascinating to me about that is we've always just with everything in parenting done what's felt right for us and like really leaned into like what is intuitively right for us. And I think people are just looking for those answers, and it's always just been very like what's felt natural to me. I never was trying to like go against the norm. Same with, I breastfed Remy until he was
a little
over 2
years.
Yeah.
And I never had, I hoped that breastfeeding went great, but like no one in my family really breastfed. I never saw it. I had very low expectations. And then suddenly I'm getting all these questions and comments about extended breastfeeding. And it's just fascinating to me because it's always just what has felt natural. And it seems to me like a lot of parents in our generation just overcomplicate things.
Yes. Oh my God, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think there's so many like parenting accounts and sleep accounts and rules, and people are, hearing different stuff from pediatricians or whatever, and they're getting so much information that I think they feel like they have to do things based on this set of rules. And then when they see someone who's maybe not following those rules, quote unquote, they're kind of intrigued and like, oh, like if this person's not following the rules, maybe I don't have to either. Let me hear more about that. And I also think, like you said, like it's not necessarily the norm or it's a little bit taboo, but I actually really think that it's more common than we think. And people just are not as comfortable talking about it. And I think that's why they're so fascinated by you guys, because you are just so open. And you just are like, yeah, this is what we do. Like, we'll talk about it. We'll share. And I think that's really refreshing for people to see.
And what I love about your account too, and I feel like that's how we are, like just because co-sleeping works great for us, I definitely know that does not work great for everyone. And what I love about your account is that you just empower parents to make their own choices based on what works for them in that phase of life. Like we both work from home. We have flexible jobs. No one's
totally
counting on us to be somewhere at 7 a.m. So like there are those days where we can sleep in. Like there's so many factors that go into why this works great for our family. Our boys' temperaments, that's a huge one.
Yeah, what are their temperaments, do you think?
Rad is the most chill guy in the world.
Yeah. Really? Aw.
So happy and so laid back.
He's crying, you can settle him down.
You just look at him. He just wants you to look at him.
Look at him, feed him.
He is the cutest with all those little dimples. I just cannot deal.
And Remy had a pretty similar, I mean, he wasn't quite as chill, but like both of them really just like snuggly contact naps, like just want to be close to us. So that's why it works really well for us.
Sweet.
And Remy's like, as he's gotten older, he's a little more on the sensitive side and just so curious and adventurous and just all boy.
A little hard-headed. I think he gets it from Hunter.
So Cam, I would love to hear your perspective on this because I obviously talk to parents about sleep every single day. And because I think you're very similar with my husband, like love co-sleeping. You're just willing to do like whatever is going to make it easier on the mom, which is so refreshing and wonderful. But unfortunately, based on what I hear and see is that not a lot of, I'll say at least male partners out there are as accepting of this type of arrangement. And they really want baby to be independent and they want baby to be in their own bed and all of that. So how did you kind of like come around to this arrangement, or was it always just like not a big deal to you?
So yeah, it's honestly never was a big deal to me. And I'll preface this with like Hunter saying like this like intuitive thing and trusting your gut here. Like I've said this to people. Hunter and I have been together for 14, 15 years now.
Wow.
I've told anyone and everyone, I trust Hunter's gut more than anything in this world. Like if she called me and I'm driving my truck and she said, hey, you need to turn left right now, I'm going to turn left. Because
that's amazing.
I don't know what's going to happen, but I need to listen to her. So, with her gut saying, hey, I think Remy needs to be in the bed with us tonight. His temperature is like 103 degrees. Like we need him close so we can check on him. For me, it was like honestly a breath of fresh air because I'm like, oh, I can check on him because both the boys slept on my side of the bed when we were co-sleeping and Radner's still co-sleeping in the bassinet.
So co-sleeping next to us.
Yes.
And not bed
right. Not bed sharing. Right.
Correct. And that part of that was my love language is servitude and doing for others. And I think that me being able to help out with, nighttime feedings, that kind of stuff, getting, Remy or Radner out of their crib, bassinet, bring him to Hunter, and then I'll go do the diaper change. but I'm also that parent that would wake up 1,000 times a night and like check and feel and make sure they're breathing, put their nose, and like, those first weeks with Radner, I was the exact same way every single night. And like with Remy, like there's still nights where I'm like, all right, you good, buddy? Like just making sure. And I think that having them that close and in the room, like it takes that stress off of me. And I know it takes other stresses off of Hunter. So
you always just talk about those moments that we would miss out on.
There's so many special little moments at night and in the morning. And even in the middle of the night, like that Remy will wake up, like now he's potty trained. And he's like, hey, Daddy, I got to go potty. Can you carry me to the bathroom? I'm like, buddy. There's just so many sweet little, moments that, say it's 9 o'clock and we're falling asleep, that he's still just being silly in bed, or we're wrestling, that if I had put him in his room down, like we wouldn't get that with him.
So sweet.
I'll never take it for granted. So.
And I always think too, when they're older, like when he's 12, 14, like I know that I would kill for them to be in our bedroom with us. And that just really sticks out to me.
For sure.
Yeah. I love that perspective too. And I always think about that too. Like these days are so like limited. And I think some people don't like that message because they're like, I don't want to enjoy every minute. Like this is also really hard. And I'm not going to miss certain parts of this, but there are parts that we will miss and that we don't get back. And that's kind of just the reality.
But when you look back, you tend, especially like the newborn phase, like you tend to forget the harder moments.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, when in my DMs and Q&As, people are always like, well, what about you time? What about time for the two of you? And we do make time like to watch our shows at night. Like Remy will fall asleep, Radner will fall asleep in my chest. Like our routine is sort of everyone fed, dip, bath, lay down, we'll turn all the lights off, turn the TV off, Remy falls asleep, Radner falls asleep in my chest, and then we'll turn the TV back on and watch 2 episodes of the show.
Yep.
And sometimes we just fall asleep with them, so we're in bed at 7:30. But like we have the rest of our marriage, the rest of our lives to, of course I miss like snuggling him at night, and like also there's other rooms in the house.
Right, exactly. You can get creative with it, right? Exactly. I know that's kind of the thing that always blows people's mind is like, they'll tell me like, oh my God, your poor husband has a baby in his bed all the time. Or, what about time for your relationship? And I don't know. We're just like not tripping on it. Like we are so fine with this being our life right now. We're like exhausted by 9 o'clock anyway. Like, what are we going to do? So I don't know. I mean, everybody's relationship is different. And some people really do need that like quality time, just the two of you as partners. And I get that and I respect that. But I don't know. For me, it's never really been an issue. And I think people get really confused and like flustered when I say that like my husband truly does not care.
Yeah. I could not care less. Like it is what it is.
It is what it is. They're your kids. Like they're, I don't know. We like hanging out with them, not 24/7, but we don't mind them being in our bed. And actually I wanted to go back to something that you just said, Cam, because I love the idea of you having the baby on your side of the bed. And I don't think that's an arrangement I hear about very often, but you're right. Like it does give you this like sense of also being needed and involved in the nighttime care and in the feeding. And I think that's one thing that's really hard, especially for first time new dads, where they feel like, especially if mom's breastfeeding, like they just don't have a job, they don't have a place, they don't have a role. And I think a lot of times they get kind of like jealous or feeling left behind or just feeling kind of useless. So that's a really, I think, great idea for an arrangement with a newborn at least.
And I think on the flip side of that too, it helps Hunter not have resentment towards me. She's like, well, I've been up feeding this baby. He just hasn't stopped crying tonight. Like I'm able to at least do what I can do to help her out.
Yeah, you're right there with her.
Well, I think the diaper changes started from my C-section at first because I couldn't do it. But then I was like, okay, this feels like we're both really like you even said that in the hospital with Remy, our first. You're like, I'm really glad I got to be so hands-on because you really couldn't move around the room. And you did those first diaper changes, and I feel like it gave you like a sense of pride.
Yeah, it gives me a way to connect to him as well.
Totally.
Both the boys. It just makes sense. And like Hunter and I have never been, and we've always told ourselves we are not going to be the parents that like, well, I changed that last diaper, you got to change the next one. It's always just do it.
You're a team.
It's kind of like it comes back to me like something I learned back in college. I was in a fraternity, and our whole thing was like, the whole motto is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I thought to be my duty. And it's like, just do what you have to do.
Just do what needs to get done.
It's your duty. Just step up and do it, you know?
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And you posted a reel and a blog post recently about your advice for moms postpartum or how dads can help and get involved postpartum and kind of care for not just baby, but care for mom. Do you want to share some of your ideas? And then Hunter, which ones meant the most to you or were the most important to you?
Yeah. Honestly, I think the biggest thing is making sure that she's as stress-free as possible. And I don't know that I'm not saying there's any science behind this, but I feel like stress from her ends up being in the milk, like all of that. I'm like, I want you to just be chill. So maybe be chill. And
I will say people always compliment and comment on how chill our boys are. I do think a lot of it is just their natural temperament. And
totally.
I also think that parents' stress can stress them out.
Yeah. And part of it's genetic too. So if you guys are more chill in temperament or more high strung in temperament, like that's also more likely to get passed down. But then also, like what is your household vibe like? Like kids are little sponges and they do pick up on everything, including how stressed we are. Right. And that's not like a guilt thing. It's not like you can't ever be stressed because that's life, but you're right.
Yeah. And like I think with sleep too, like all of my new mom friends, I feel like they're just worried about a schedule and a nap schedule. And when I get DMs all the time, it's like, what's your breastfeeding schedule? I'm like, I don't know. Feed when he's hungry, or like even with napping, like we're in that phase now where like all of Radner's naps have been contact naps in a carrier. And we're like, okay, he's 5 months. Like when do we start putting him down? So, but we really don't follow a schedule. And I think that it works for our boys' temperaments and it just works for like our family dynamic. And I think it has possibly contributed to them being a little more adjustable.
Well, I noticed I get upset with the dog when our big dog tries to eat Remy's food, and I can see that wearing off on Remy, like the way he treats one dog over the other. Which
he'll be like, that dang dog.
He's like, that dang dog ate my food again. And I'm like, I know that dang Puddles, buddy.
My kids have been known to yell at our dog too, and I definitely know they learned that from me. So
So it's like, minimizing stress on Hunter, which then minimizes stress on the rest of the family. I'd say just making sure that, her daily necessities and needs are taken care of, whether that's making sure she has snacks. Like I love to cook, and that's just how it is. I think her whole family's married men that love to cook, which is
amazing.
Awesome.
It's a great move.
Hunter is a great cook. She just takes a little longer than I do.
Yeah, I like whip up a gourmet meal in 5 minutes.
Making
Jealous.
sure that kind of stuff's taken care of. Like all of her little night necessities are there.
With breastfeeding, it can just feel like especially when you want to spend more time with your toddler, you just feel a little bit like stuck, especially in the newborn phase when you need this boppy and like the whole thing.
Yep.
And I kind of forgot about that second time
because
I nursed Remy for so long that you forget.
It's different with a newborn. Yeah, you need all your gear. You're like tied to the bed for hours.
So hungry. So just having those snacks, like when I'm thinking back to this postpartum experience with Radner, like those are things that stick out, or just him like checking in and like having my Stanley Cup ready, or making snacks and things like that.
Yeah,
those little things do make such a difference and make you just feel cared for, so that you can then care for the kids, right?
Exactly.
And so, did you find that it was different after your first baby to after your second baby? Because I know a lot of people say like when, a second or third baby comes, maybe the partner or the dad is having to take on more of those duties. So he's not as available to mom to help her with the newborn or help her with her own stuff because he's preoccupied with the toddler. Or like, how did that kind of go for you guys? Did you feel like that transition was harder, or was it harder when you first became parents?
We tried to do a lot as a family. When Radner was born, we took, do you follow Dr. Becky?
Yes, of course.
Okay, we took her sibling transition course, and I really think that like set us up with a totally different mindset. I really recommend that course. If you're
cool. Okay, I'll link it. Yeah.
Yeah, or I guess really any sibling, even 2 to 3 or whatever. But we did a lot of things to like sort of prep Remy, but I would say overall, and I think Cameron agrees too, 1 to 2 was so much better than 0 to 1. And we had a great transition from 0 to 1, but Remy was born in 2020. So it was just totally, I felt like I was a lot more anxious because visitors, you're worried about masks, you're worried about, so it was just,
it was a crazy time.
It was a crazy time. So overall, like being able to have more visitors to share our new baby with was such a great experience too. And then we just really I didn't want Remy to feel like when the new baby came that mom was just like taken away by this new baby. So we really tried to like do everything as a family, and we did prioritize some one-on-one time with Remy too.
Well, like I get that too. Like, so, a typical morning for us, Remy, I get up early because I'm usually packaging orders for Premonition before they get up. But, maybe it's 5:30 most mornings. Well, Remy has decided that 5:30 is his wake up time, or 6.
Oh, lovely.
I get an hour to 30 minutes in the morning by myself, which I kind of need that time anyway.
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, I hear little footsteps coming upstairs. And what are you doing, Daddy? You doing Premonition Goods? Can I help?
Oh, so cute.
He helps me finish my work, which I let him just mess with the boxes and stuff. And then we come downstairs and we're usually playing with toys, magnet tiles, reading a book, coloring. So it's created a stronger bond between me and Remy because we get this little moment in the mornings by ourselves, and then we let Hunter and Radner sleep in a little bit and let them keep resting, because I know how much of a toll breastfeeding can be.
And at that point, that's when Radner and I co-sleep, which I love.
Yeah, that's their little morning times. They get about an hour together, 45 minutes, which it's necessary. Like, I think it's great for Hunter's mental health. I think it's great for Radner. It's the rest is what you need because you're breastfeeding all the time.
Of course, yeah.
So, yeah.
It sounds like you guys have come up with like such amazing systems and schedules, and like not schedules, but like rhythms to your day. It just sounds like you are such a team, and like I just think that that's so incredibly inspiring. And it sounds like you guys are just doing amazing. Is there anything that you feel like it has been more of a struggle since Radner has been born? Because it's been about 5 months now. So like, is Remy doing okay with him? How are the sibling dynamics?
I like what you said, rhythms, because I never know how to.
Yeah.
Because we fall into these rhythms, but it's not like we're purposefully creating them. It's just kind of what it is.
Totally.
To me, the hardest transition from 1 to 2 is getting out of the house.
Oh my God.
It feels like every time we're trying to leave, it doesn't matter if we're trying to leave 30 minutes earlier. It's like the diaper bag doesn't have diapers, or Remy forgot his toys, or we didn't get Remy snacks. And then the other day we left with just Radner and we completely forgot a diaper bag. Like, it's just,
oh my God.
Like, we were telling, where were we? We were somewhere, and we're like, okay, well, we'll be here until we can't.
We were
at
a funeral. We're like, okay,
oh God.
We'll be here for a little bit, but we have to go.
We're on the clock. Yeah. I started keeping like a whole diaper pack in my car and wipes, because like tucked in the back, because we forgot the diaper bag so many times. And I was just like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Smart.
And we've had to like buy new outfits being out because there's been a blowout and we just forgot all our stuff. It's like, I don't know, when you have your first kid, it's like the diaper bag is so important to you and you have it like fully stocked at all times. And then I don't know what happens, but it just becomes less and less important or like top of mind.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Bodily. Bodily addresses neglected and often stigmatized areas of women's health by offering evidence-based educational resources and thoughtfully designed products supported by clinical research. I have been loving Bodily's products, like their nursing and pumping bras, for the last year and a half or so, because they've been the most comfortable thing for me to wear throughout my last pregnancy and all throughout this last nursing journey with my third baby. Whether you are pumping or nursing or both, Bodily has a bra that will make you feel comfortable and confident. They've got other amazing products too, like their underwear that are perfect for postpartum, whether you've had a vaginal or cesarean birth. And they've got all the essentials for packing your hospital bag, like nursing pads, cozy grip socks, eye masks, and all the other things you might want with you. So visit itsbodily.com to shop their amazing selection that will help you navigate pregnancy, postpartum, and anything that comes up in between. Use our special code, No One Told Us, that's NOONETOLDUS, to save 10% on any order of $100 or more.
So getting out of the house, and then in like probably the first 6 weeks postpartum, and then was it when it's worse, but then still now is like, it's not postpartum anxiety, but it's like just complete overstimulation. Like,
oh God, yeah.
dogs are barking, the baby's crying, Remy wants my attention, we're trying to figure out what's for dinner. It's like every few days at 5 p.m. I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, just complete overstimulation. So I don't really have a solution for it yet. It's just it's what it is.
I don't know that any of us do. It's just it's life with multiple kids and dogs and businesses and all of that. Yeah. The overstimulation is bound to happen.
Speaking of businesses, the amount of stuff that comes with having multiple kids and then running our businesses out of our home. So
there's stuff everywhere.
I need stuff for my try-ons. We have our whole guest bedroom is now our Premonition Goods storage facility.
Oh my God.
And then just the stuff that comes, I'm looking at a whole pile of Madden's house right here. Stuff that comes along with having 2 kids in such different phases. We need the tummy time set up. We need...
Right. You need all the toddler toys, but also all the baby stuff. And the baby stuff there's so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say the hardest part for me is just trying to be, with a newborn, it's so easy. They can only do something if you're doing it for them, right? We can put Radner in his little bouncer or let him on his little tummy time mat, all that. But in the back of my brain, it's always okay, is the dog licking him? Is Remy's the most loving big brother ever and too loving. So and he wants to just go and hug him and lay with him and tummy time on him and roll him
and
over.
And now that he's rolling, he wants to roll him over.
Oh my God. Sounds exactly like my 3-year-old with the baby. It's just she's constantly trying to hug her, roll her, pick her up, move her. It's we can't leave them alone.
That stress is always you're one ear, one eye, always.
Yeah.
That's why they live. He lives in the carrier.
Yeah.
Exactly. Got to keep him safe up there.
Yeah.
And I think I put my phone out to look at my 1 to 2 transition advice. So it was Dr. Beckley's sibling course. Every day we would prioritize one-on-one time for both of us with Remy without our phones completely. Just
Love that.
And it would be 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I remember I would just go sit in his sandbox with him, and it just made me feel better. And you could tell he really loved it and enjoyed it.
Yep.
Baby wearing with the second. So I think you talked a lot about that too. And the ones I had.
Oh my God. I don't know how people don't do that. What other option is there? I don't understand.
Yeah. Because I still felt like I was really having that sweet snuggle time with Radner, but also making Remy feel like a part of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite carrier or wrap that you love? I know I've seen you with the Solly.
I have just pretty much replaced everything with that Wildbird Ariel.
Okay. That's the tan one you have, right?
Yeah. And
it's newer. Yeah.
It's sort of the same style as an Artipop, which I love my Artipop and I use that the most with Remy, but it's I'm 5'1", so it's really compact where the Artipop has
it looks shorter.
And then it, I don't know what you call it, neck rest or head rest is more firm, so it's good for naps too. It really supports his neck. But yeah,
cool. All right, cool. Because people are asking me about my Artipop all the time, and I'm I'm so sorry. I really love it, and I would recommend it, but it's so expensive.
And I think this one is under 200. So it's
great. Okay, I'll start recommending that one too.
And people are is the Artipop worth it? I'm yes. If you just, I think the Artipop has the more fashionable, stylish prints where they just come out with some. I don't know. I keep reaching for the Wildbird.
Okay, interesting. All right. And then you were talking about 1 to 2 advice. Was there anything else on your list there?
Trying to keep just smaller routines the same because I think they make a big impact. Bath time and just one of the things I was really stressed about with my second C-section was Remy and I bathed together every day, and I was I don't want this huge transition to be a big deal. And so what we started doing was showering together, and
sweet.
You can shower after C-section, and now that's stayed the same. So it just was a small part of his day that I knew he would appreciate.
Would be the same. Yeah. I love that. And so you guys were mentioning that you work together. Obviously, you've been doing this influencer thing for a really long time now. 6 years?
Started in 2016, so...
Okay, so even longer. And then you've recently launched a new business. So how does that all go, spending all of your time together?
We're so used to it now. We started, I had a PR job right out of college, and then that wasn't even a full year. So pretty much work life experience has been working together.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
we love it. We've gotten really good at just saying exactly how we feel all the time. Like almost maybe to a fault, to where I can't understand why other people don't do that. Like if they're feeling a certain way, I'm like, well, just tell them. You gotta
Right.
Yeah. And so communication.
I think one thing is like Hunter and I have always been best friends.
Aww.
We were friends for over a year before we even started dating. And I think that is helpful. And then like I've always been better friends with girls. She's always been better friends with guys. So we just like click in that sense. And yeah, I think like over the last couple of years, we've gotten very, very good at communicating with each other. And I think that comes from working with each other and like, you know,
and many mistakes.
Yeah, sometimes,
of course. Yeah, of course.
Sometimes there would be work conversations that and disagreements and arguments that end up seeming like husband and wife conversations and arguments. I'm like, let's pump the brakes. We're talking as employees right now.
Okay,
I'll
yes.
never forget. He was like, we were talking about something like late at night one night. He was like, we'll have a meeting in the morning.
I was like, we'll have a meeting first thing in the morning. I was like, you wouldn't say this to one of our employees. So
Right.
You're not going to say this to me. We're going
Coworkers are not chatting with each other at 9:00 at night. Yeah.
So I think that figuring that out and then also just being honest, like if either of us has an issue, it's like we just tell the other person. It's like, okay, I accept that, or no, I don't really agree with you, and here's why, and we just talk it through.
And figuring out our roles, I think, was a big one because Cameron was a photographer and videographer before I started this whole influencer thing. So it wasn't like I feel like it happens the opposite a lot now these days. And so just making sure that he always got to keep that photo, video, like creative.
His own thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, it's a double-edged sword because then I'm like wanting to overproduce everything. She's like, no, the algorithm has moved to iPhone vertical.
Has to be real and relatable. Yeah, exactly.
And it's just quick format. And I'm like, I can't do it. And now I'm just like, I hardly pick up my camera anymore. It's just for
you do it now. Yeah.
It's just home video for boys that we'll look back when we're 60 and cry.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh my gosh, you're so lucky, Hunter. I wish that I had that. I think every mom probably wishes that their husband or partner would be like, I mean, it sounds like you're an amazing chef and an amazing photographer. Like, what more could you ever want?
Really? Maybe by
Servitude. It's my love language.
By the time this comes out, he will start posting more. But I have a TikTok name for him, and it's the Do It All Dad.
Oh, that's genius.
He has so many more hacks and like our friend was over here the other day, and she's having a baby, and he was like, "Hey, have you ever seen this?" And it was like the breastfed baby hoop in the sun trick.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Where you bleach the stains in the sun. Yes.
Yeah. And so she left, and then he asked me to send her the picture of the clean onesie, and she was like, Cameron needs to write a dad book. I'm like, I know.
Honestly, like
everything.
My husband is so sensitive that he could never have like an online presence because I think he would just be like way too sensitive to trolls. I'm going to have him do a few podcast episodes with me, but I tell him all the time, like, I wish that like you could, or someone like you, like he's very emotional, like seems very similar to Cameron. I feel like dads need other dads like that to kind of like look up to. I think that would be so amazing.
And he just has so many hobbies, like outside of parenting, like woodworking and just, I'm like, I don't even have
you would
one
be a great follow. I was going to say, I don't either. You'd be a great follow. I think this TikTok thing needs to happen. Hopefully by the time this episode comes out, it's already a thing.
Motivation.
The problem is like, there's just so many other things in the day that I need to be doing. And, like, to me,
I know.
I'm just like, I want to go.
Well, and I think people think like influencers or lifestyle content creators, it must be so easy because they just live their life and they just film it and pop it up. But there's so much more that goes into it, right? As you guys obviously know, it's a lot.
And running a business from home, and
not to mention
doing everything for her business that I do. And
exactly,
that's a perfect preface of something I thought about earlier. And I think that the whole social media world, I think everyone understands this now. It's very easy to compare yourself to someone else's life. And see,
so glad you brought this up.
How do I do all this and like that? Like, and we were talking about how, the male partner ends up like, how can I help? Or like, no, the baby needs to sleep in their room because I have to get up because, I have to go to work in the morning and I got to go to the gym before I go to work. And I think one thing that we are blessed with is the ability to both work from home and have that. Because if tomorrow morning we don't want to get up and do anything for work, we could just sleep in if we wanted
and that's
to.
Why,
obviously Remy's going to wake us up, but I could literally call her mom or my mom, like, hey, can you come get Remy? It's 6:45. I'm like, yeah, for sure. And
that is such a blessing, right?
There are a lot of factors. And that's why, like, anytime I give even moms in my life or online, like, here's my advice. This might not work for you for a number of reasons.
Totally.
And you asked about just like things that we've struggled with too. And I got a message yesterday. It made me so sad. And it was a girl, and she was just like, you make it seem like you guys don't struggle. And I was like, I never want anyone to feel that way. I am my personality, like my college best friend to this day will call me when she's like, I need a little perspective. Can you help me see like the good in this? Yeah. That is my personality, where I always try to find the good. So of course we have these super hard days. Of course we've really struggled sometimes in the transition overall from 1 to 2. But my mindset has always been just to try to find the good in those days. So I never want anyone that follows me to think that we don't. But like when I look at my whole day, that's not the moment that I really want to share. Yeah. It's just,
right.
It's just I'm not sitting there
to share the real stuff,
and of course, like, we've shared when we went through a miscarriage. Like I'm just the type of person that needs to like process things on my own a bit, but I never want that to come across as if we have things figured out, because we do not have things figured out.
There's been plenty of times over the last 6, 8, 12 months that Hunter looks at me, she's like, "You okay?" I'm like, and I'm the most just calm person. Like I weather any storm, and she's like, and I think that's why. A lot of why we're able to get through a lot of issues, because she's like, okay, it's going to be good. Cam's not freaking out.
When Cameron's stressed, I really freak out, because I'm like,
But I think that basically what I do, and it kind of, I realize it now. It's, what was that show we just watched? It was on Apple TV, the therapist.
Shrinking?
Yeah, Shrinking. They just like sit there, go listen to a sad song and cry for 5 minutes, and then pull yourself back together.
Get it out, yeah.
I'm just going to keep going on. Like, I know that there's a lot of, and that's not saying and negating anyone's struggles, but
right.
I feel like I can say it because I, in the past, have struggled with eating disorder, struggled with depression, struggled with anxiety, all of these things. And I've worked really hard to get to this point where I can get through things.
Yeah.
You just
and I think
scream.
Yeah. And I think people assume that if you're a presence on social media, or if you have a large following, that you have to show everything, and that if you're not showing it, it must not exist. Right. And I have to remind my followers of this all the time, where it's like, just because you're not seeing me having an absolute meltdown, or, you know, my kids being feral wild animals, like, doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. Yep. It's just that I'm not going to show that on social media. And like, whether you're an influencer or not, like, everybody is showing exactly what they want to show on social media. Right. So you just have to always look at things with that perspective in mind, and know that like everybody has struggles, and everybody has bad days, and everybody has bad weeks or months or years. And just because you're not seeing that doesn't mean that it is not there, or that there's something wrong with you for having those hard moments. It's not that everybody else has it so much easier. It's just social media gives us this like really weird, warped sense of other people's lives. And I think with parenting, it's so hard too, because it looks like everybody else has this like perfect routine, or like amazing sleeper, or great relationship after their baby. And it's just not the reality for most people.
And like, if you'd asked us 3 years ago about tips for working together, like, I don't think we would have had them, because we were like just figuring it out. So we really have had to work through those struggles to get to a good point where we feel confident and actually
it comes with time.
Hear some advice.
Yeah. And to your point, Rachel, too, I think that I don't think this is true for everyone, but for us, and I think a lot of people, that you can pick up on how real someone is based on social media and their stories and stuff. And that just because we don't share the hard times all the time doesn't mean that we're trying to portray a life of we're just perfect in everything.
Right. You're not trying to be fake.
Sometimes people just have to go through things
privately.
That's not by posting only the good. We're not trying to say it's all good. It's only all good. Like, we're just like this. We just don't really care to share that, because, you know, I feel like the world just needs more positivity. So it's like,
I always want people to come to my account for a source of inspiration and positivity. And like, of course we'll share, like when we were potty training Remy, we like shared the highlights and the things that weren't, also the things that weren't so good. But I just never want my problems to be put on other people too. Like
right.
I'm more the type of person that once I go through something, I will share it. And,
right. You have to process it yourself first sometimes, and sometimes that takes a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're going through right now with Remy. Like there's a little bit of a meltdown almost every day.
That 3-year-old.
Like, 3 is something else.
Yeah.
I don't want to scare anybody out there that has a 2-year-old or a 1-year-old, but 3 is different.
Yeah.
I feel you guys. Yeah. I think Remy is almost the same age as my middle, Noe.
I think so. She just turned 3 in June.
Yeah. She turned 3 in January, and it was like overnight, like on her birthday, she went to sleep, this adorable, sweet, easygoing little 2-year-old. And then she woke up and she was 3, and she's like, I'm going to like fuck your shit up. Like I just I'm done with that. And yeah, it's hard. But again, like I don't feel the need to share like how much she's terrorizing me on a daily basis, because it's not going to serve anybody. You know, I'll share about it sometimes to make people feel less alone, but I'm not going to harp on it all day long.
And let me go through it long enough to figure out an answer. Like,
yes. Or to like, share some insight, right?
I have shared, like, we haven't gone into details of, you know, tantrums, but like I will say Dr. Becky's courses have really helped me just through different things, and they really have. Like she has
she's amazing.
The Deeply Feeling Kid workshop where like everything is so Remy. Like, and I love how she puts it in her perspective. She's like, there's so many amazing things about having a Deeply Feeling Kid.
Yeah.
And just really love her and I'm thankful for
her. I love her too. She's wonderful. I'm hoping to have her on the podcast soon too. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for being so open and honest. And I just absolutely love watching you and your relationship, and your kids are the cutest. Before we totally wrap up, I would love to hear one thing that you feel like no one told you about parenting that you wish they had told you before, either before you had your first or before you had your second.
I mean, one for sure is that it doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter what anyone says. Your child is going to be different than every other child that came before them. You know, Radner's completely different than Remy in a lot of ways, and he's very similar in a lot of ways. And it's like, and this is a mindset that I've always taken, is prepare for the worst and expect for the best. Right?
Yep.
It's like just roll with the punches. But I think that one thing I would tell people is just don't sweat it. Don't stress the small stuff. It's not going to last forever. And there was a video actually I just watched the other night on my phone. Remy loves looking at old videos of himself. And there's this video of him sitting on my chest, and he took a sip of my water, and he's sitting there with his mouth. And I'm like, don't do it. Don't.
Oh,
spit.
no.
I'm looking at myself in this video. I'm like, I would have been upset if he spit that water on me. Now I look at that video. It's something hilarious. If he had spit it on me, it would have been an even better video and a better movie.
Right.
So like that kind of stuff. Like just don't sweat the small stuff.
Perspective is it's everything. Yeah. Love it.
I would say no one told me that I would have all the answers I needed. I felt like I looked to outside sources so much more the first time around, and even throughout pregnancy. And then when I had my boys, I realized that I was the answer to those questions, and no one else could be, because no one else knows them as
like
well
you.
as you do.
And I think that falls back into what you said at the very beginning of this, is intuition, trusting your gut, doing what feels right.
Yep.
It's so true. I love it. Well, thank you guys again so much.
Thank
I will link up all the stuff we talked about in the show notes, and everybody make sure you check out Premonition Goods. It's an amazing business that you guys have started. You should be so proud. And I'm so impressed that you work together. Honestly, I don't know how you do it.
Thank you so much for having us.
I love following you guys.
I tell everyone to follow you.
Oh, thank you so much. I've gotten so many followers from your mentions, so I really, really appreciate it. People come to me all the time, and they're always saying that it's just like nice to see a different perspective. So I really appreciate you sharing about it and being, again, just so open and honest with everything, but especially with parenting and things that some people are like scared to talk about. So really just appreciate you guys a lot.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you so much.